Allah states repeatedly, اعدلوا وأقرب للتقوى, be just, it is near piety and righteousness. But he practiced it on a daily basis. One day he was just sitting with some of the companions, and those that came to 7 under the shade can maybe remember this. He was sitting with some of the companions in a circle, halaqa, giving them talk and reminding them of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And a person came to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and offered him milk. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he accepts these offers in general. He took that milk, drank from the milk, and then looked to his right. And remember, I'm going to have it was a halaqa, okay? And he looked to his right and he found a very young man by the name, who knows the name? Those that came to 7 under the shade maybe can remember. Who was the companion sitting on his right side? Very young companion, related to the Prophet ﷺ, became one of the greatest scholars. More hints? Became maybe the biggest scholars of Quran, the biggest scholar of Quran. Rami? Muhammad? Sister? Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. A young companion, some narrations say 9, that we shouldn't worry about the age in particular, but something within that range, was sitting to the right of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And as we know from the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is that when he eats, drinks, he passes the food or drink to his left, right? Oh my God, everyone is asleep, I think. He passes the food and drink to his left or right?
Right.
Right. So he looked to his right and he wanted to pass the milk to this young man, because it's his sunnah from the manners to pass it to your right. But then he noticed that there is Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, there is Uthman, there's these great companions that are sitting to the left of him sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And now the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, anyone's placed in his situation, in his position, an imam, a teacher, in general, they would say, you know what, respect older individuals first. Give these individuals, you have to respect them. Give them first before you take care of this child. Don't worry about this child. Give these older guys respect. But that wasn't the case of the Messenger ﷺ. He looked to his right, and then he asked Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. He said, can I offer the milk first to these older companions and then give it to you? And Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu said, no, O Messenger of Allah, never. I would never give something as important as that to anyone else if I had the opportunity. Because of his love to the Messenger ﷺ, he does want to take advantage of that situation. He was placed there and he wants to take that opportunity into full effect. So he said, no, O Messenger of Allah, I'm not going to give it to any of the great companions. I deserve it. I'm sitting to your right. So the Messenger ﷺ at that moment decided to give him the milk. And as we said, Wallah, personally, shakhsiyan la, but do you guys want the heat on?
No.
You guys are fine?
Yeah.
Okay. Shukran, jazakallah khair. We come back to that. In general, if an imam or a shaykh or a teacher, even a parent asks their children for an opinion, and they don't like that opinion, they wouldn't care about that opinion. He's just a child. Who cares about him? But that wasn't the case of the Messenger ﷺ. He gave him the milk. As soon as Ibn Abbas said, no, O Messenger of Allah, he said, you know what? It's your right. And he gave him the milk and he drank from it. This is an example of the justice of the Messenger ﷺ. Very simple and yet very powerful example of how just he was, even with children, and even in the presence of some of the greatest companions, such as Abu Bakr, Umar, and others. The examples are so many. Even to those that tried to assassinate the Messenger of Allah. Not just bother him. Even to those that wanted to kill the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He treated them with justice, and even beyond justice, he treated them with mercy. As we know, when they came back to Mecca, after being expelled from Mecca, thrown out of Mecca, when the Messenger ﷺ returned with the Muslims in the conquering of Mecca, and they entered Mecca and they controlled Mecca, some of the greatest enemies of Islam were there. And then the Messenger ﷺ stood by the Kaaba and he said to them, what do you think I'll be doing to you? Now just imagine someone who's been fighting you, someone who's been slandering you, backbiting you if you want to consider that as well. Someone who's tried everything to bother you, to harm you. And you're placed in that situation, and then the Messenger ﷺ tells those same individuals, what do you think I'll be doing to you? Now if we think of it, a ruler of our time, a president of our time, an individual who has a power in our time, to at least throw them in prison. Torture them and throw them in prison. At least. Some would even kill those individuals. Why? Because they've bothered them for so long. The Messenger ﷺ, after he said that to them, those men knew how merciful the Messenger ﷺ was. They said, أخٌ كريم وابن أخٍ كريم. We only know you to be a very generous brother and a son of a very generous brother. And then he said to them, اذهبوا فأنتم الطلقاء. Go, you're all free. Subhanallah. Imagine, I bother you for 10 years, let alone 23 years. Every single day I poke you on Facebook.